Hello.
We are here with our team leaders, Ben and Julie Jensen. They are the leaders of the church planning team that we get to be a part of. And today we wanted to interview them. They have been so supportive of us through the months, almost a year leading up to us moving to Japan. And ever since we've been here, making themselves available for any needs that we have. And so we're really grateful for them.
Yeah. And we wanted to interview you guys so that we could share with everybody back home who's supporting us so that you guys can see the amazing work that is being done here in Nagoya and that is being enabled through the establishment of Nagoya Christian School and for you supporting us to be here so that both of us can teach at the school. And so please enjoy this interview, and we'll start by just asking you two to introduce yourselves and your family.
Yeah, so we're Ben and Julie, and we have 3 boys, 14, 10, and 5.
Great. And so we are here in Nisshin Christ Church, and I wanted to ask, what is your role here, and can you give us a brief history of the church?
Yeah, sure. So, Nisshin Church was planted just over 25 years ago by our former team leader. It just celebrated its 25th anniversary last fall. And, as missionaries, we're always trying to work ourselves out of a job. And so, Nisshin Church is planted 25 years ago, and now it's reaching maturity where it's a self-governing. They just called the very first Japanese pastor, and they have Japanese elders, and more and more they are have a vision for ministry and are implementing ministry. And so we're so thankful to be partnering with Nisshin Church and seeing it grow up.
That's wonderful, thank you. So what were you guys doing before you sensed your call to Japan?
Yeah, so our love for Asia actually began in South Korea. Both my wife and I, we went to South Korea with our Christian college with a professor, and I went 3 times, Julie went twice, and on 1-month mission trips, and then that church surprised us and offered us jobs to work there. And so 6 weeks after we graduated from college, we found ourselves working at this crazy big 30,000 member and growing church in the second biggest city. And we were teaching English part-time and also working within the context of their English ministry. They had about 350 people from 20 different countries, half Koreans and the other half were expats. And so we served there and loved it. We ended up going back to America. I was going to start seminary, and the original plan was after seminary, we were going to return to Korea, we thought. But I became the director of youth and family ministries at our PCA church in Olathe, Kansas. And during that time, did a master's in divinity at seminary and went through the licensure and ordination process at Heartland Presbytery. And during that time, when we started thinking about like the trajectory of our lives and leaving friends and family for a long time, we started feeling a burden for unreached people groups, and we felt like if we were going to invest a significant amount of time and energy into something that more and more we felt like we wanted to invest that in unreached people groups. And so with still a love for East Asia, but Japanese are the second largest unreached people group in the world with very little access to the gospel. And so that was kind of a good marriage of those two things together. We met our team, really loved them, loved what they were doing, and so decided to accept a call to Nagoya, Japan.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing. So that's also how God called you to Japan and into this situation. Mm-hmm. So how long have y'all been a part of the church planning team?
Yeah, we first came to Japan in 2015, and we did a 4-year term at that point. And then we went back for what we thought was going to be an 11-month HMA back in America to visit churches, and then COVID happened. Mm-hmm. And we had a baby and couldn't get a visa for him while we were in America. And so what was supposed to be 11 months turned into over 2.5 years, kind of being stuck in limbo.
We
And
moved 9 times during
Oh.
school. Yeah.
Brutal.
it was a really rough season, and during that time we kept seeking the Lord, like, do you still want us to go back? Maybe this is a door closed, maybe this just isn't. But every time we got to that point, we felt like there was just still a desire to come back and serve at the church, and the Lord just provided enough for us to get to the next point, a little by little. And so we felt like, okay, this seems like the Lord is still wanting us to be patient and persevere and come back. And finally, we were able to after over 2.5 years. And so we came back for our second term, and we just finished our last 4.5-year term. Just a little over 4 years term. So we've technically just done 2 terms in Japan, but starting in 2015.
And so altogether, that's like over 8 years.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow. And so, how is the Lord using you now in Japan? Each of you.
Yeah, I'm serving as the team leader for the Nagoya church planting team, and then at Nisshin Church, I lead the college ministry and young adult ministry here, and I'm also on the preaching rotation as well.
I still have kids at home, so my first role is kind of supporting our family and helping my kids, but I also serve on the NCS school board, and Ben likes to call me his secretary. So
Secret weapon.
try to help him with a lot of things, kind of helping sort through emails, replying at times, writing our newsletters, doing our reimbursements with MTW, a lot of paperwork, kind of behind the scenes stuff.
But you're also an amazing chef, right? Like you do a lot of hospitality.
Thank you.
Julie loves to cook, and so she, we just handed off the college ministry to a national partner who, Atsushi-san, who will be taking care of it when we're away. But before that, Julie was cooking weekly for like 40 people at a time.
Right. That's more important than love
Yes.
and time
Yeah.
given to the hospitality of feeding very hungry college students.
Yes, yeah. It's just a real joy in ministry. Before we came to Japan, we then had done youth ministry, like middle school, high school in America for 8.5 years. We enjoyed that, but we didn't really envision college ministry is where we're gonna really invest a lot of time. But after we did some language school, the team said, hey, we have this immediate need of a college ministry leader. Would you do it? And so we're like, okay, yeah, we'll give that a try. And we absolutely loved it, and just have seen so much fruit from it. And surprisingly, my love of cooking and hosting people just was so perfectly intertwined with that that it just seemed to fit our giftings well. So getting to cook for not only the college ministry every week, but then from that we've had a young adults group from Nisshin Church develop an international group of young people. Most of whom are Christians, but some are not, but coming on Sundays to Bible studies, and then also hosting them in our home for meals and other just fun events, and trying to kind of be their family for birthdays and holidays and events, and providing that warm, caring environment for them to experience a Christian family and God's love in a warm, caring environment.
Yeah. Hospitality can really unlock a lot of doors in Japan, and so in Japan, people don't usually invite people to their home. That's more of a Christian virtue, and so when you do invite people to your home, it's a big deal. And I remember early on there was this young person who came, and she was like, "I'm so excited because this is my first time eating dinner in somebody else's home."
Wow.
And we were just blown away by that. But anyway, Julie's a good host, and hospitality is kind of an important part of our ministry.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. And so, can you guys tell us about raising a family in Japan, the blessings and the challenges and anything else?
Yeah, it really is a mixed bag, as you found out. There's so many blessings of getting to serve together and work together. We get to spend a lot of time with our kids in a lot of ways, more than a lot of families, just in a normal work environment, because we do ministry together. And so our kids come to the college ministry with us, and they're at the house when we have people over, and that's both a blessing and a hardship at times, because they get to see us involved in ministry, and I think they really have a understanding of why we're doing what we're doing, and wanting to serve the Lord, and wanting to see people come to faith. But it's hard when your whole life is kind of in front of people, and as foreigners, we really kind of stick out, and so people are always watching us and always kind of evaluating, making judgments about us, and that can be hard when you're a kid growing up and navigating emotions and just life as a young person with all that kind of scrutiny on you. So that's a challenge.
Our oldest son, he went to Japanese Yochien, which is like preschool and kindergarten, as you know, and he was the only foreigner in like a sea of, I don't know, 200 or 300 Japanese kids. And so, you know, that's, overall he enjoyed his experience, but it also comes with challenges. When you're that young, you know, it's hard to have the maturity to understand what's going on. And, you know, he also entered a Japanese basketball club, which is great for him in a lot of ways, but also, you know, he is again the only foreigner, and, you know, though he can speak some Japanese and understand some, you know, he's not free to communicate as well as he would like. And so, yeah, so those things are challenges, and it takes a lot of effort, you know, for missionary parents to kind of track with each of your kids and give them exactly what they need. You do feel a lot of burden as a parent, always trying to assess where they're at, are they getting what they need, how can we help them? And so it feels like, yeah, there's just a lot of energy put into making sure that your kids are doing okay.
So regarding these challenges, how did these circumstances limit your guys' options for education, and what were the options you had?
Yeah, so when we first came to Japan, our first term in 2015, there was a thriving Christian school that was started by our team leaders years before when their children, they had 5 children, and they quickly saw the need of a Christian school in the area, so they started a school. But they were also in the middle of trying to plant Nisshin Church. And so it was like they were trying to run so many things all at once. They eventually had to hand over the leadership of that Christian school to an international school program. And so they were kind of removed from any leadership decisions, and that was run by a different organization. And that there were ups and downs for that school. There were some great blessings and many missionaries, and we even know some Japanese families who came to Christ because they accepted non-Christians into their school. So some Japanese used the school as a way to learn English, and we know some Japanese families that came to Christ because of the interactions that they had at that school, and that's a wonderful thing. So the Lord used that school in some really great ways, but it also had a lot of challenges. And by the during the time of COVID, they lost a lot of students. The border was closed for so long, there were very few expat families left in the area, and so they had to close. And there were also financial reasons going on, and so it was good that they closed in a lot of ways. That was kind of the right timing for that. So our first term, Soren, our oldest, actually got to go to first grade at that school and loved it. It was a great experience for him. And so we originally thought that school was going to be around for many years. It had been around for many years. We thought it was going to continue to be around for many years, and that all of our kids would be able to have a fairly decent education in English in our area. But then coming back our second term, that school had just closed. And so we were kind of like, oh wow, what do we do? I guess we'll homeschool. Looking around, you know, there's Japanese public school, but at that point our oldest had been out of Japanese school for almost 3 years. He lost most of his Japanese, and trying to plop him back into the middle elementary would have been really hard for him. And as well as
even our middle child, who would have normally gone to Japanese preschool and kindergarten when we were stuck in America, then he missed that kind of significant window of opportunity. And so he maybe could have been stuck in elementary school, but it would have been really tough.
But we'd also heard many horror stories, unfortunately, from other expats and missionaries who had tried Japanese public schools or the other secular international school in our area and had bad experiences with bullying or a very anti-Christian bias, or just very, just some really sad stories. And so just really felt like that was not what the Lord had for our family when we were trying so hard to care for our children and make sure that they were healthy socially, emotionally, spiritually. There's so much pressure on third culture kids already that it's been hard to stick them into a difficult school situation and expect them to thrive and do well, and to really have a heart that's open to the Lord when they're going through all those things. So we really strongly believe that we want our children's love for the Lord and their desire to be part of ministry not to be harmed by the schooling that they were receiving. So at that point, we decided, okay, we'll do homeschool. We did that for about a year, and it was a disaster.
And Julie's she used to be an elementary teacher, and she was, a good elementary teacher.
My students used to love me.
And
My children, not so much.
with one of the kids, it went really well, and with another child, it just didn't go well. But it makes sense because part of it is, dealing with when we came back, all of his friends had moved away. He had like 10 friends, but then they were all gone, and there was nobody really. I mean, there were friends like on the other side of the city that we could get together with once a month, but getting together once a month with a friend is not what a kid needs, especially when he had lost so much language, when you feel isolated. Sometimes homeschooling can work okay for families on mission field, but in some situations it can be incredibly isolating, and that's definitely what was happening with us.
And he had left a really thriving Christian school experience in America while we were stuck for that 2.5 years. He had loved his Christian school experience in America and had many friends and just a really positive experience. And then coming back to Japan, it was really tough, and being homeschooled by mom and not having many other people he could talk to with his limited Japanese. It was a real tough season, and we thought during that time, multiple times prayed and asked the Lord, like, maybe this is the end of the line. We're not willing to sacrifice our children spiritually for the sake of the ministry, because our first priority is to make sure that our family is spiritually healthy. And so, yeah,
we wanted to stay, but we really wondered, can we keep staying?
Yeah.
And so you kind of reached a point where you were feeling like you needed to make a decision between your ministry and your kid.
Yeah.
And
I think we had teammates who were wanting to start NCS, and so that was when that began to develop. We kind of were able to stay with the hope that there might be help on the way and things might change, and so we were able to kind of like hunker down and hold on, for a season, with the hope that there would be this Christian school and new opportunities for our kids.
And how long did that take to develop from an idea, because the other school had shuttered during COVID times, and then another teammate decided to establish Nagoya Christian School. How long did you have to wait for that to develop into something that you could actually send your kids to?
Yeah, it was quite a process. So our teammate of ours actually realized that we needed a new Christian school as that other one was shutting down. And so she started the wheels turning and did some preliminary work. But then a couple years later, we were still homeschooling, and then and that family actually had to go back to America, and so she was not able to continue. And so during that kind of interim period, we did some homeschooling, but then we also, with that teammate's help, started a homeschool co-op out of the building that we're using now. So we met just a couple days a week, but it was mostly parents who were still running it. We had one intern lady who was able to help come and teach some classes, but...
And so why was it restricted in that regard?
Yeah, we just didn't have the teachers. It takes time to recruit teachers, for them to raise support, to bring a family to the mission field. All that takes a lot of time. And so the wheels were turning back in America as our organization and teammates started asking churches, please send teachers. I think during that time, you all were approached and asked, would you consider working in Japan and teaching at a new startup school?
Yeah.
And so the Lord laid that burden on your heart, which we're so thankful for. And then raising support takes time. It can take multiple years for a family to raise support to come to Japan. So we were just kind of holding on, waiting during that time as the Lord was bringing people into the pipeline.
So it took multiple years for teachers to be able to start arriving and be able to meet the need for the students.
Yes.
So now that Nagoya Christian has been established and you've had a place for your children to attend, how has that enabled your family to continue to serve here?
I would say it quite literally has enabled our family to be able to continue to serve here. I mean, really, we were kind of like at the point where if we can get the school started, then I think we can stay. But if we can't, we just didn't see any way forward. Yeah, and so it's huge, and it's not only huge for our family, but also there's other team leaders that are sending their kids. I know for sure that it's making a huge difference in the life of multiple missionary families.
And that's saying a big thing because you and Julie stepped into the team leader role right as you were being faced with like an existential crisis of being able to continue or not.
Right, yeah.
And so
Yeah.
it seems like quite literally Nagoya Christian School has enabled you to be able to step into this leadership role.
Yeah. And we know of at least one other family that's a team leader of a different team that we're also kind of in the same place of like, if we don't have a school, we're not sure that we'll continue. And so, and then, you know, having a team leader's family leave, then that trickle down affects many other families and many other missionaries then also have to make the decision, well, do we also leave or do we stay or go to another city? Or one of the hardships that Nagoya has had for a long time is a lack of infrastructure for missionaries. Tokyo has, for decades, had Christian schools and infrastructure for missionary families to go and plug in. And
isn't there a Christian school in Tokyo that has like hundreds and hundreds of students?
Yeah, that's right.
And so this little school in Nagoya could end up growing to that size as well, but it's been around for decades and decades.
Yeah.
But it is like you know, we're a church planting team, but it is like a critical need we see it as a critical need very much related to church planting, because if you look at like unreached people groups, and like I was talking to this missionary, this church planter in China, and he said, oh, without a doubt, the most unreached places in China, there's no international schools, but the most reached places, there's all these international schools, and so therefore missionaries are able to come and have their children's needs met, and therefore more churches were able to be planted and so forth. And so we see it very much. Maybe you wouldn't necessarily think like, oh, church planting, Christian education, that's a strong connection. But in our context, in Nagoya, which is Aichi Prefecture, the prefecture we're in, has the least amount of churches per population. And part of that is because there's not the infrastructure to be able to welcome missionary families and keep them on the field. But once you have that established, then a lot of things can grow.
So coming back to your work here in Japan, what fruit have you seen out of your ministry over the years you've served here?
Yeah, I mean, this last term has been really exciting. In Japan, it's kind of a slow place for ministry. Relationships take a lot of time. Japan is, there's a reason why Japan's an unreached people group. There's many challenges. It's a hard place for the gospel, but nevertheless, we're really thankful to see the Spirit's work and people come to faith in Christ. There was like a 6-month span where I was able to baptize 10 people, which is crazy. Just so fun, such a joy. In our college ministry, we saw we've seen 3 people come to faith, and 2 of those people had zero exposure to Christianity before they came to a college ministry night. One had a previous encounter with a church before, but just such a joy to see, to be there, up close and personal, where a student opens up the Bible for the very first time, I remember this one guy, just reading I was going through the scriptures with him in a Bible study, and he would just go like, "That's incredible." And I was like, "Yeah, it is, isn't it?" But I was, just really surprised at what the Spirit was doing in his heart, and things actually went a lot quicker than I anticipated. I anticipated this would be like a multi-year process, but he came to faith relatively quickly. One day he did some group Bible studies with us, like Christmas Bible studies. What's the real reason, the real meaning of Christmas, and what's the real Christmas story? So we did like a 2-part evangelistic Bible study for college students. He came to those, loved those, and then he said he wanted to sign up for like a one-on-one Bible study. So I was like, great. And and I'm just really surprised like how quickly things moved. And he started asking questions like, well, how does someone have faith? And I said, well, that's a great question. Maybe better than you realize. But basically, God's going to have to give you faith. And so, if you want to believe this, God will have to do a work in your heart and to help you believe. But if you want to believe, we can pray that.
Let's ask him, right?
Yeah. And so we started praying that God would give him faith, and it was like 2 or 3 weeks later that God opened his heart. And
Wow.
it was amazing. So he prayed and received Christ right in the parking lot of a convenience store. Yeah. We had another young lady who it was a little bit more of a process. She first started coming to the college ministry. She at first she made it known, like, I'm not religious. My family's kind of skeptical of religion. So that's okay. You can keep coming. Well, she started loving college ministry, made a bunch of friends, and she started loving the church. She would come to some church events or spend a lot of time in our home or other people's home, and she just started absolutely loving the community. But was pretty open and honest that I don't believe this, but I'm super attracted to it. Well, she eventually did Bible studies with us and spent a lot of time in our home, other people's homes, and she had gotten advice from a short-term worker who came, like, hey, you just need to pray. And you just should keep praying. Read the Bible and keep praying. And she did that. She started praying every day. And sure enough, New Year's Day, she was at a funeral for a relative who had passed away. It was a Buddhist funeral. And they were going through some of the Buddhist prayers. And she, in her heart, she's thinking, I don't believe this. I don't even know what they're saying. And then she looked around the room and she's like, I don't think anyone really believes this or knows what they're talking about. And then something inside of her said, but I know what I believe. I believe in Jesus.
Wow.
So she wasn't expecting that just happened at a Buddhist temple.
Yeah.
And that's where kind of like an inner conversion happened in her heart. And so she messaged us later that day and said, like, hey, can I come over and talk? We're like, yeah. And it just so happened we actually had a party planned for just a New Year's evening party, just with some friends. And it just so happens that all the other friends were Christians. She was only non-Christian. And so she came over before the party, we prayed together, and then we had all these Christians coming, and we were able to announce there, like, hey,
The first Christian birthday.
Yeah. It was amazing, and it's just really God's work. And so, that's just a little,
Especially for New Year's, which is such an important holiday in Japan.
I know, right?
Yeah. Wow.
But I think that's what keeps us coming back all these times that we keep feeling like, oh, maybe God's closing the door. This is the end. The schooling's not working out. We're closing the door. COVID's closed our plan. But I feel like the Lord keeps, despite our weaknesses and the challenges and everything else, the Lord keeps providing these opportunities where we see fruit from what He's doing here. And to get to be a part of that is such a joy, and to get to be part of a team that's also interacting in many other ways and interacting with many other people. Without our team here in Nisshin, Nagoya, this little corner of Japan, could the church survive? Yes, they could survive. But we're able to reach out to so many more people as foreigners. We have special opportunities for contacts, and we can partner with the church in so many ways that is an encouragement to the Japanese Christians. Having missionaries here partnering with them to reach out to others is a real encouragement and a joy to Japanese Christians. And so just to get to see those times when Japanese do come to the Lord just gives us that courage and motivation and perseverance to want to make this keep working. And so we're real thankful to have a school to be able to help our family be able to continue.
Yeah. So, what are you looking forward to in the years to come regarding the ministry here in Nisshin, Japan?
Yeah. I think a lot of it is just some of the young people new Christians, and then also, new Christians from our college ministry. We have, when we came back from HMA, there really wasn't much of a young adults group, but now, thankfully, there's like a pretty thriving young adults group made up of missionaries, maybe other expats, Japanese believers, some who grew up in the church, some who are new believers, There's a few like international students involved, and so together it's a pretty good sized group. We've had kind of 10 to 15 people, but that's pretty significant in a Japanese context. And so just seeing what will happen, how God will use that young adults group, but also another huge thing for us is we have 4 pastoral interns that we're working with. These are guys who've been through seminary and are in the ordination process. So Japan has a crisis need for more pastors. A lot of the current pastors are aging, they're already in their 70s or they're older. And so there's a desperate need for more pastors. And we're so thankful to have 4 really great quality young guys that we're working with who have been through seminary and are in the ordination process and gaining a good experience at Nisshin Church or another church that we're also developing as well. So we're really excited to see how God will use them, and then we feel like we have good relationships with them, and so these are young guys that we can partner with, and that's really our vision, is partnering with the Japanese church to plant more churches in Nagoya. And so we're excited and optimistic what the Lord will do.
Yeah.
That's wonderful, guys. I'm so grateful to hear all of this, and some stories that I've heard before, but some that are wholly new. And wow, what incredible testimonies of God's faithfulness here in Japan. And I think his desire to surprise and delight, showing us his work. So, do you guys have any final comments that you would like to share?
I think I would just like to say thank you to your donors. As we've shared, it's a many-year process to bring a family from when the Lord puts a burden on their heart to serve on the mission field, and then helps them raise support and prepare as a family. You all had to do a lot of trainings and conferences with MTW and raise support, and it's a multi-year process. And so we just want to say thank you for supporting the Jordans and allowing them to come and serve at the school. Not just at the school, but as a missionary, you are involved in so many things. You're getting to reach out to Japanese families in your children's yochien and elementary school and your neighbors. And so there's just so many opportunities for, I think especially a family with young children has a lot of opportunities to reach out to other families around them. And so it's just a real wonderful thing for our team to have your family here with young kids, serving in the school and serving in other ministries.
So donors, thank you for sending the Jordan family to help us, to work with us. It really is a blessing. So please pray for them. Please be generous to them. Thank you.
And it makes our team look attractive to other missionaries when they look at all the opportunities out there. If the only place that has a school for their kids, or the only place that has other families for their kids to be friends with is in Tokyo, everybody just goes to Tokyo. And that's great for Tokyo, but there's a lot of Japan, and there's a lot of needs in other places in Japan. And if we don't reach to the other parts of Japan, then I think we're missing what the Lord has for us. So thanks for going to the least of these cities like Nagoya.
And I just want to say too, we have grown such a love for Nagoya too. We are so glad and blessed to be here with you guys. So thank you for having us on your team. And also God bless you guys with your ministry and what God is doing. We're so grateful.
Yeah, it's great to be on this team, and we know that the Lord is moving. So
Well, great to have you on our team.
Thank you guys very much.
Yeah.
All right, well, we'll see you later. Bye.
Bye-bye.